Happy New Year everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm gonna review this old NVIDIA GTX 960 4GB version and its gaming performance in 2022. But before that, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe down below, and thank you for watching. Well, the new year is finally here, but unfortunately the GPU pricing for newer used graphics cards are not looking good at all so far. And I don't think the pricing will go down anytime soon. That's why I'm going to review this 7-year-old NVIDIA GTX 960 and its performance in 2022. Now this specific model is the EVGA SSC 4GB version. This is a very nice little piece. Majority of these 960s are 2GB versions, but this is the 4GB one. It comes with a back plate and it features 1279 MHz core clock, 1342 MHz boost clock, 1024 stream processors, 7010 MHz of the effective memory clock, 4GB VRAM, 128-bit memory interface, and it is a GDDR5, and it is DirectX 12 compatible. Also has one HDMI port, 3 display ports, and 1 dual DVI. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are well aware of this, but this would be the oldest NVIDIA graphics card now, the 900 series, that actually still takes the latest drivers. So in this test, I'm going to be using the NVIDIA's NIS, the image scaling option, to get a little bit more power, get a little bit more FPS out of this card. Now, for reference purposes, this card is on par with the GTX 1050 Ti, really similar, in some cases a little bit better in some games, and in other cases just slightly under of the 1050 Ti performance. Now, if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button down below. It really helps to grow the channel. Also, be sure to stick around for my other video where I'm gonna test out a second NVIDIA GTX 960 4GB version as well in SLI and see what I could squeeze out of this. Now, I'm sure you're well aware there's a very limited amount of games, but nevertheless it should be quite interesting. So let's get back to this card. Back in the day, this was NVIDIA's budget card, and it was quite reasonably priced, about $180 to $200. I actually didn't see much of the 4GB version on the shelves back in the day in Micro Center, for instance. Mostly 2GB version. I recently came across a couple of these for a really good price, and I scooped them up. Now, of course, the 4GB version should be a little bit better, especially with the modern games that at least require a minimum of 4 gigs of VRAM. And this thing is still quite peppy, and it's got plenty of juice left. It still goes for a lot of money on the used market. I'd say I've seen this 4GB version as much as $200 on eBay, and maybe the 2GB version you could scoop up for like $160. But as I'm sure you're well aware, a lot of the old graphics cards are like outrageously overpriced, more than double or triple that they were just a year or two ago. So like I said, it's really not looking good, and we really got to survive through this. Hopefully things will turn around. So without further ado, I'm gonna jump into some gaming test benchmarks, and I'll see you in a moment. Alright, so the first game I'm going to test out in this video is God of War. As I'm sure you're well aware, it just came out about a week ago, finally on PC. This is a great looking game, and the good news is it does support DirectX 11, so you can use a lot of the older graphics cards. Now, for this specific review of the GTX 960, I am going to use the NVIDIA's NIS image scaling option here, just to squeeze out a little bit more FPS. So let's take a look at the settings here. And as you could see, I am running that 1768 by 992, which is, I believe, 75% image scaling resolution downgraded from the 1080p, and it's working fantastic. And for the graphics settings, I'm using this custom setting, which is a little bit less than the original settings here, but nevertheless the visuals are still pretty good. Alright, so this is the kind of performance you could expect with this card. As you can see, the game looks good. I really like this new feature that the NVIDIA's drivers have, the NIS, where the game looks very close to 1080p. The graphics look still really good, and you get that little extra 15% or so increase on the FPS. Game runs smooth with really decent FPS.
What did you find?
Tracks.
Oh yes, and also just wanted to mention, I do have this card slightly overclocked by 50 megs on the core and 200 megs on the memory clock, just to get extra couple of 2 FPS or so. I'm using a fairly decent system here, an 8700K platform running at 5 gigahertz and 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM running at 3200 megahertz. Definitely enough, more than enough to test out this old graphics card.
More tracks?
Yeah, but they're too round. Could be a wild boar.
Good.
Oh, now what?
Now, of course, this is nowhere near of the performance of, let's say, PS5 or Xbox Series X, where really you need like a RTX 3060 at minimum to really enjoy the HDR 4K quality on this game or so, but it's still not too bad here.
This way, boy.
As I'm sure you're well aware that the RTX 3060 now, with the scalp price, is outrageously expensive, somewhere around 700. Just ridiculous. Alright, well, that concludes the results for this game. Let's jump into another one.
Slow down.
And here we have Halo Infinite, and once again I am using NVIDIA image scaling option. As you can see, top left corner, you might see that little green thing right there. So let's take a look at the settings. I'm very happy with overall performance with an old graphics cards like this. So I was actually able to get away with medium preset and getting pretty good FPS. As you can see on the right corner there, I still have a little bit of room there to play with the settings. Max, it gives me 3.96 gigs, almost 4 gigabytes. And as you can see, the resolution here is 1768 by 992, which is about 77% of the actual 1080p. But with this option, it looks fantastic. I mean, I could barely tell the difference between this and 1080p, the actual 1080p. So we have the VSync off, and I am set here on medium preset, as you could see, with motion blur off and the screen shake off. And this is the kind of FPS you could expect. Not bad at all. It really looks good visually. Now, if you're new to my channel, and you probably noticed that I am screen recording this with my camera here, and the reason for that, if you haven't figured it out yet, is to give you the best possible accurate results, because if you use any other software, you will lose some FPS. That's just a fact. I just want to give you the most accurate feel. That's why I make the numbers really big here on the screen, so you don't miss out any information. As you can see, the temperatures are pretty good for this card. Very silent, and I'm not even messing around with the fan profile. Overall, this EVGA card is a really cool, really good cooler on this. Just like it says, silent. You can get the temperatures much lower if you increase the fan speed, but it's totally unnecessary in this case.
Take a look upstairs, Chief. Might be around to the bridge up there.
Well, as you can see, this card has no problem running this game. You could increase the settings to high or go down to low and get a 60 FPS average. Really depends. So this card still has a couple options to play with. So that concludes it for this game. Let's go on to the next one. Now, Valhalla shows some pretty decent results on medium preset and 1080p resolution. Let's take a look at the settings here. As you can see, we're on medium preset with motion blur off. Now you could easily go down to the lowest preset on 1080p and get pretty close to 60 FPS on average. But if you want better visuals, I think medium preset is just right with this graphics card. So as you could see, the 900 series still got plenty of juice left, and as I mentioned before, somewhere on par with a GTX 1050 Ti, which in a lot of the cases they trade blows. I still think this is a little bit better. Now, do I recommend this card? I mean, if you get it at a good price, definitely under 100. But as I mentioned earlier, this thing goes around 180 for a 4 gigabyte, which is outrageous. It really is tough right now. Alright, on to the last game. And now wrapping it up with Hitman 3, which also shows pretty good results. Now I am on 1080p medium preset using the NVIDIA image scaling option. And you know what? The game looks great. And for an older card, showing some pretty decent FPS. Look at that. It's definitely quite playable. Looks good.
It's super uncomfortable, sir.
So in conclusion, the GTX 960 is still a good card, and if you're lucky enough to have it, you could still enjoy a lot of the games. Pretty much you could play any game on 1080p, at least on lowest preset, and that's not bad at all.
Get in my head. The all that's in there. Machine 4. Go.
Again, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're new. Hit the like button down below. Share the video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to hit that notification. That way you could stay tuned in my latest videos, which soon I will do another video, but this time I'm gonna use two GTX 960s running an SLI, and we'll see what kind of FPS I could get. Would it compete with some of the lower end modern cards? We'll see.
They don't want people like us for that sort of thing.
No, they only
Mister,
want people like
A
us.
good one, okay?
Sir, please.
No, they only want people like us. The flyer says so.
Henry, it's super uncomfortable, sir.
Oh, I'm going.